Hi, I'm here to tell you about my superpower. I can actually tell you what stuff costs in healthcare. Is that MRI $300 or $6,221? Yes, these are real numbers. If you'd like to share my superpower, just listen on up. One thing you need to know about us is that we're journalists. So I was at the New York Times for almost 25 years. I volunteered for a buyout, found myself building this startup. We like finding stuff out and telling people about it. We're hoping the live demo works. This is our home website. We collect cash and other kinds of pricing information. Here you can see 30 to 35 common shoppable procedures, the prices being collected by our journalists. You can also use this tool to search the way people search the internet. So for example, if you were looking for a cardio stress test, say within 100 miles of a common New York City zip code, you get a results page that looks kind of like this. We give you first the Medicare reimbursement rate, because that's the closest thing to a fixed or benchmark price in the marketplace. Thank you, Niall. We also tell you prices that providers have given to us from our survey. If they won't give us a price, we give them a 0 in our database. We out them because we're journalists. We also will list prices, and you can see here, ranging from $87 to $250 to $300 to $748 to $2,504 for that cardio stress test. So we've been doing this kind of reporting, but we've also been very interested in crowdsourcing. We've recently developed a line of business where we're crowdsourcing data with partners like KQED Public Radio in San Francisco. We build this software tool embedded on their website. It's an interactive tool. On the left-hand side, we invite people to contribute their prices by using an autocomplete here with natural language to get clean data. And then on the right-hand side, after you've shared your prices, you can see your prices in context with everybody else's prices. So for example, if you were looking for MRI pricing information within 100 miles of a common San Francisco zip code, you would see results that look something like this. The orange prices are the prices that our journalists have collected. In blue, you see things from our community members who've contributed pricing. In green, we have providers who are asking to put their data into our databases. So look at the numbers on the left, 475, 500, 580. A community member wanted us to know they were charged $1,850, but she says, I have a $7,500 deductible. So I asked the office manager, she said if I paid up front, agreed not to report to Blue Cross, I could have it for $580. Scroll down and you can see the numbers rising. $1,200, $1,600, $2,700. And then we get to this poor schlump who was charged $2,885. Insurance paid $944. They had to pay $1,940.03 for that same MRI. And one of my personal favorites, the $6,221 MRI. So having collected this data and displayed it in a way that we can let people use it the way they use the internet, these are our basic data sources. Crowdsourcing is a big deal for us. Here are our partnerships right now. This puts us in front of 3.5 million people, with more to come. When people see this data, yes, they do get upset, but they also get excited because for the first time they're seeing actionable information that they can use to make decisions to save themselves money. The people who care about price are not only uninsured people, but also insured people, high deductible and not, on the exchanges and off. One big thing that we learned is that women do most of the healthcare shopping and nobody's talking about it. Real journalism? Here's a commercial for journalism, everybody. Real people, real decisions, real knowledge, real information. People do shop for healthcare. We help them save money. And we get MASH notes like this. I just want to say your website is amazing. Please don't stop because you're helping people every day. Want to share my superpower? Come talk.
Wow, well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done. Judges? Okay. Lisa?
All right, so my question is, great presentation, by
Thank
the
you.
way. In my experience, people care less about how much a service costs overall versus what it's going to cost them. How do you translate what it costs to what it's going to cost them? For example, mammography, often zero out-of-pocket cost.
Right.
How do you translate that?
So quite often what happens when people say, what is that going to cost? The answer is either, we can't tell you, what is your deductible doing? We don't really know. Ask your insurance company, ask your provider. The patient is going back and forth with what we call the blah, blah, blah. You can't get any kind of answer at all. What you could do is to whip out your handheld and say, it says here that Clear Health Costs says that I could have that mammogram. Let's say it's diagnostic, so you are paying. You could have that diagnostic mammogram for $6,000, or you could have it for $300. Doc, is it okay if I do the $300 one?
But I think her question is saying, though, how do you account not just for the sticker price, but how do you know what the
Co-pays and co-insurance and deductibles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the deductible. Well, if any of the insurance companies who are present in the audience would like to share information about deductibles and about co-insurance, we're happy to supply that information. As it stands right now, we haven't had insurance companies who are eager to participate in this endeavor. Not sure why.
So many questions.
Okay. Are the searches natural language searches or medical language or ICD-9 or 10 codes?
Great question. So we do a natural language search. We're based on the HCPCS database. When you type in MRI, you have to choose which body part, and then our software will supply to you the HCPCS code. So we actually educated you while you weren't paying attention.
Thank you.
That always works for me.
But what's the basis for the 3.5 million? What does that mean? Incrementally since the beginning, or?
That's the audience of people who have access to our software right now, who are audiences of our partners. Of course, not every single person in each one of those audiences is interested at any one specific time.
So is that a page view, cumulative, or on a daily basis?
Audience numbers.
Okay.
Who
So
we're in
it's
front
more
of.
like media impressions.
Excuse me?
Closer to media impressions.
Who we're in front of.
People
What size
that
the
are
audience
able
is.
to access it, but not have that necessarily
Alex, you gonna weigh in,
the
or?
impression. No.
So as you know, I care deeply about this from my Fair Care MD experience.
Yes.
So tell me, how are the providers reacting to those zeros, and how is that changing?
So interestingly, we've had 4 queries about our data since we started doing this in 2011. 4 people who've questioned our data. We're having providers coming to us and saying, we'd like to put our data in your database. I think it's a reaction to what's going on in the marketplace now with high deductibles, with providers' inability to collect the co-insurance and deductible. People get really excited about having an opportunity to actually do that $580 transaction for cash only.
But like if a patient goes to Alpha 3T MRI and says, I know that this should only be $300,
Right.
Are you getting Alpha 3T annoyed with you, or are they calling you?
No. Okay. We haven't heard from providers being annoyed about this at all. Okay. And I think that's a reflection, well, maybe they're annoyed and they're not calling us. We don't know that for sure. I think it's actually a reflection of the fact that they're having a hard time managing in this marketplace too, and they absolutely understand that transparency is coming like a freight train.
All right, so our comments monitor says we're over time, which is not the case because they only gave us 2.5 minutes.
They only gave us 3 and we have 5,
so,
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to just ad-lib this now.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
I had a question. So you mentioned using HCPCS codes as your background database. When patients are searching using just regular terminology, how do they know? Like, for example, imaging studies tend to have different types of dye or contrast used, or with or without contrast, and there are different variations of similar sounding tests. So how do you know, as a patient, how do you actually know what type of test is being selected?
Right, so if you type in MRI, it will give you the list of possible body parts, and then it'll be with or without dye. We do believe that many patients have the ability to research and understand things themselves. We can't solve all of the problems of the healthcare system right now, but that one, we're able to do by giving a natural language search that then serves up the HCPCS code or a range of options.
And what's your end game? Is this truly a transparency tool where it's purely a shopping mart out there? Are you aiming to reduce the variation in healthcare systems? What's the end game?
People should know what stuff costs. There's no excuse for a system that defaults to lying and secrecy. People should know what stuff costs.
I guess I have to be the hard ass. How do you make money?
We're out of time.
Sorry, I'm not a judge. I just need to know this.
So our media partners pay us to customize the tool for them, to host and maintain, to advise them on crowdsourcing, and also on how to create great journalism out of this. Because when you look at that $6,221 MRI price, you might say, that's crazy, it's a mistake. I'm like, it's not a mistake. It's not a mistake. So being able to make journalism out of this, we don't have just the tool on the website for people to search, but we do stories. How much should a colonoscopy cost in San Francisco? How would you protect yourself against an outrageous MRI bill? How would you think about doing this?
All right, one more.
Yeah, when you list the differing prices, say for imaging, do you put down what kind of machine, the age of the machine, and the age of the software, which is a big differential?
No, we don't do that, but I will tell you that on the quality issue, you haven't lived until you've sat in a room where 25 radiologists are arguing about what makes a great MRI. And believe me, I've been there. Is it the machine? Is it the technician? Is it the person who reads it? No, my machine is better. No, it's only a good MRI if it's actually done. If it's too expensive and it doesn't get done, then it's a bad MRI. I could replay. This conversation was fascinating. It's not just the machine.
So I don't know where we are on time because our thing went all haywire, but thank you very much. A round of applause, please.